This tiny motorized workout device can simulate up to 44 pounds of weight, but there's something about it that I find troubling. So what actually is this thing? Well, it's kind of like a resistance band, but instead of using elastic to provide resistance, it uses a high-torque electric motor and high-tech programming. And that makes this so much better than a resistance band, because you can fine-tune exactly how much resistance you want, and it stays consistent all the way through the rep range. It doesn't feel exactly like lifting free weights, but it's far closer than any band or tube can get you. The part I'm holding stays clear of my body more easily, and I can change the weight without having to deal with any plates. There's no risk of anything falling on my toes, and then there's the size. This is close to 44 pounds of free weights sitting beside the pump, which only weighs 1.5 pounds and takes up barely any space. It's more complicated than I'm about to explain, but basically there's a lithium battery, a motorized winch, and a computer. The computer controls how much power is applied to the motor, so that as you pull out the cord, the motor pulls back with just the right amount of power to simulate whatever amount of weight you've chosen. And it does this impressively well. When the cord is almost fully extended, the motor applies the brakes for the last few inches to protect it from being yanked too hard. But sometimes it also momentarily applies the brakes much sooner than that, about 3/4 of the way through the range, cutting the rep too short. I'm not sure exactly why it does that, but it seems to be an intermittent problem that happens quite often, especially during my shoulder workouts. When using the pump side by side with an equally weighted dumbbell, it feels pretty close in weight. It might be a little bit easier than a free weight, but you can just set the weight slightly higher to compensate if you feel it isn't enough. The weight can be adjusted from 4 pounds up to 44 pounds to let you really dial in what you need. For dumbbell curls, beginners might want to start at, say, 10 pounds, but if you're a professional bodybuilder like me, you might want to go with 11 pounds or even 13, and you set that using the app. In fact, you do everything in the app, and that's the part I'm not so fond of. The app is the cornerstone of the whole experience. Adjusting the resistance and changing the type of resistance from concentric to eccentric can only be done in the app, so you're going to be using the app a lot. This means you'll be fiddling with your phone quite a bit during your workout, but that doesn't bother me much given that my phone is not exactly bulky. My real concern is with the privacy. You see, the app won't let me use the pump without creating an account and giving it access to my location. Yep, you know where I'm going with this. It also really wants access to the internet. Reading through the privacy agreement, I found some things that made me unhappy, let's put it that way. This is another one of those products that wants to collect a lot of personal data, and it wants to send that data back to foreign servers where I can only assume the company will find all sorts of ways to use that data. And I understand that the app has some social and workout tracking features that need internet access to function. But my issue is that, let's say I'm not interested in using their social media app or storing my workouts on the cloud, and I just want to do some dumbbell curls in my living room to a bit of Lionel Richie. With this device, I can't even use it for its most fundamental function without creating an account and giving it access to my location and my internet connection. To see if there was a way around this, I signed up with some fake details, gave the app location access, but used the firewall on my phone to keep the app offline to make sure it couldn't send my location and any other data back to their servers. But then this 15 to 20 second loading box appears every time I click anything, which makes it really annoying to use. I found that by turning off Wi-Fi and cellular on my phone before launching the app let me use it normally without the loading screen. But then I can't listen to Spotify or receive calls or texts. This is a fantastic piece of gear. I truly love the hardware. It could use an update to fix that glitch where it sometimes applies the brakes prematurely, but it provides a huge amount of resistance for its tiny size, and it feels as close to free weights as I could ask for. It's the perfect thing to take in a bag or suitcase for those who travel and want to keep up their workouts, and I applaud what these engineers have been able to create. But I feel making it entirely dependent on an app was an unfortunate move. Fortunate for the company, of course, because that way they can collect a ton of data that's valuable to them, and most people don't care or aren't aware of what's happening to their data. But in my eyes, it's another step towards a future dystopian nightmare in which privacy is just a faint memory and tech companies vacuum up every piece of data they can to exploit and manipulate an entire population, ultimately turning us all into biological batteries to fulfill the vast energy requirements of sentient AI chatbots. But that's just me. They could have added just 2 more physical buttons for increasing and decreasing the resistance, and maybe even a little simple display, making this also usable without the app, but sadly they chose not to. There are some devices I own that I'm willing to reluctantly give this personal data to, but an electronic resistance band is not one of them. I just don't feel I should have to give companies access to my email address, my physical location, my Wi-Fi network, my age, my height, my weight, my gender, and a list of other data points just so I can do some bicep curls. And so, for now, I think I'll just go back to this archaic old way of working out, with something whose name now has a whole new meaning for me. Dumbbell. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Hi, 2 gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, peanut-free, vegan keto pizzas, please. Thanks.